Hello everybody, this is Jahamizone. Today I'll be talking a little bit about Dragon's Dogma. Now to begin with, I'll be talking about their classes and their skills in the game here. So they don't actually call them classes or jobs like they do in most RPG games, they actually call them vocations. And you know, you got your traditional fighter, strider, and mage. The strider is just a rogue and the fighter, well, it's your typical sword and shield warrior. Now these are just 3 of the 9 classes, and these are actually considered the 3 starting classes. So it's like 3 basic classes, and then you can go on, and 3 of the other 9 classes will be advanced, which are just like higher powered forms of each of these 3 basic classes, and then the other 3 classes will be hybrid classes, which is kind of like a combination. But from what I've noticed, each class does actually have their own unique skills, and well, they actually all have something unique about them, despite the fact that not all of them have their own unique weapons. And of course, when you start out here, you really don't have many skills. They only give you like 2 skills. And by the way, augments there that you see on the screen, that's just like your passive abilities. And you can actually learn or gain augments and equip them, I guess you could say, on your character, or set them on your character later on. Now here, if you go to status on the pause menu, you can see all the details of your character and all your other pawns. Now in the game, after you reach the encampment, which is really close to the starting city that you began in, you do begin to have the ability to learn and set new skills. And by the way, their pawn system is really great. It's what kind of makes them unique actually. And well, they do a pretty good job of making you want to care about your follower, instead of just like buying all the good equipment for your own character and just sort of ignoring your follower. Now as you fight monsters and gain experience in Dragon's Dogma, you actually gain these things called discipline points. Now use your discipline to actually unlock new skills and to unlock new vocations. And from the looks of it, you can actually switch between any vocation you want, you know, as much as you want, although you do have to be in this one specific inn in the capital in Dragon's Dogma. But you know, that would kind of be a hassle because, well, you actually rank up in each vocation, and the higher the rank you are in the vocation, then the more skills you could potentially buy. And of course, the higher the rank, the more deadly or lethal your skills will be. So it would be wise to to stick to one vocation. But, you know, I'd kind of imagine and expect this game to encourage people to try out a new vocation, as it does have a new game plus. Now, in addition to ranking up in each vocation, you also have your general character level. Now, I don't know how much of a difference the character level will be, but from what I understand, your character stats, like your strength, dexterity, etc., is all just distributed into your character automatically. It's either that or else there is none. I'm uncertain of that. But apparently Dragon's Dogma, it does have sort of minimal RPG elements, which is a bit of a disappointment. Another type of skill that each class can learn is augments, which augments are like these passive abilities, and well, each class has their own unique augments as far as I've noticed, which is really interesting. Like the warrior, he has an augment that makes his stamina recover quicker, and well, I know the strider has an augment that makes him climb obstacles quicker, and the assassin has many augments that makes him much stronger during nighttime and make him like a lone wolf. When learning new skills, you'll also be able to learn core skills, which are just generalized skills that anyone with a given weapon can use. So let's say for daggers, anyone who uses daggers can learn the core skills of dodging, double jumping, and some other actually active attacking skills. But personally, I kind of stay away from those because I'd feel that they're a bit too generic, and I'd rather use something specific to my class. Although the jumping and the rolling are really effective and helpful. Now in game, I'm actually currently a level 37 assassin, and well, I maxed out my vocation, and it's really interesting to see how all the skills and the end of the vocation are. You know, some of them are really cool. Like I have this one that I can turn completely invisible, although it does take up my stamina. And just like Dark Souls, you know, you really got to keep an eye on your stamina. But actually, even more so in Dragon's Dogma, because once you run out of stamina, well, your character is kind of stunned and helpless for about 5 to 7 seconds, I'd say. And well, that can leave you very vulnerable in the middle of a fight. Although, of course, in towns, you'll have unlimited stamina and you can run around as much as you want. So it's not really a problem. For the most part, Dragon's Dogma is actually a pretty easy game. Just come in well prepared with your curatives and balance your party members out. Make sure that they're well equipped as well. Well, you can't actually equip your other two secondary pawns, although you can of course equip and build your main pawn, which is like your personal pawn. One of the most challenging things in this game is actually the environment. My very first death in the game was actually right here, although I don't remember if I show it or not. But anyways, it was I had this Cyclops here, which is like right near the cliff, and then I was just attacking him. Then out of nowhere from behind, a little goblin came and pushed me off the cliff. So this is actually my second run through the boss. And occasionally I find my pawns also slipping off of cliffs, falling down to their death. And that gets really annoying, especially when I invest like 5,000 rift crystals into a pawn and then they just end up falling off a cliff accidentally. Or maybe they pushed off without me noticing. But either way, it's pretty annoying. Another challenging thing of the environment is the darkness. Although you do have a lantern and, well, assuming that you're prepared once again and you carry flasks of oil to fuel the lantern, it's alright, but there's still quite a few more monsters and apparently you can't really see them until they're somewhat close to you. Now here I was just trying to jump over the Cyclops and then I was like, nope, can't quite go over, don't have enough time to go around, so I'm gonna go test for some new weak spots, but apparently that was not one of his weak spots. So I went on up to his head and wow, I do so much more significant damage while attacking his head. And I believe that the Strider is actually one of the classes who is more built towards climbing on enemies and attacking them while clinging to them. Although they are very good with daggers and dashing around their enemies as well. Now for the most part I really don't follow the storyline, although from my friends' speculation and my speculation, we believe that the prologue quest, which is the very first thing you do in the game, and it's actually the quest that they gave us in the demo, we believe that from that quest you actually play as the Duke, who is like the king of the capital, and you ultimately slay the dragon. Although you don't actually slay the dragon when you play it, we believe that he slayed the dragons. And they did talk about the eternal ring in the prologue quest, and now at the point that where I am in the storyline, now this ring, the worm ring, has actually been stolen, and I personally believe that the worm ring is the eternal ring, but we'll see how that is. By the way, I think I'm about halfway or more than halfway through the main storyline. I've mostly been doing open world exploration and some random side quests. Now, just like your own character, you can fully customize your pawn in his or her appearance as well as his or her vocation. Now, the pawns, they're actually not permitted to become a hybrid vocation, so they only have 6 potential vocations, which include the 3 basic ones, and then the warrior, the sorcerer, and the ranger. I made my pawn be a ranger. So here, this is the rift stone, and this is used to go to this place. I'm not sure what it's called. I guess you call it the rift. And then at the rift, you can hire new pawns. You can fire pawns, and well, that's about all you can do actually. But yeah, they have a pretty good system where you can search a pawn. You can find a specific pawn. You can favorite pawns. You can. What's interesting actually though is that I had my friend play Dragon's Dogma and he could hire my pawn for free, despite the fact that she was like 24 levels higher than he was. Actually 34, because you started on a level 1. Now if you already customized your character and your pawn in the demo, then your characters will already be customized here in the actual game, so that's pretty helpful. Now after you're finished customizing your pawn, you are questioned with all these questions, and these determine the behavior of your pawn. And I think ultimately my pawn became like a challenger, so I suppose that means that when I say go, when I give the command go, she's always like one of the first persons in the lead. But now I actually looked at her again, and some way or another she changed the pioneer, so I don't really know what that does. Although I have noticed that she is always the one to pick up items, so maybe that has something to do with picking up more items. But it's pretty interesting. They really do have a really good pawn system. That's probably like the highlight of this game actually. It's just their follower system. Uncertain of how significant these inclinations, as the game calls it, can affect your pawn, but it would be interesting to compare. So after you answer those 4 questions, you select a starting vocation for your pawn, just like you did for your own character. So here, this is just a little taste of the random exploration, and sort of like in mostly any other RPG game, you can go pick up items from, well, really anywhere it would seem, and many places. Now they do have quite a few random items, it would seem, that you can pick up, like you can pick up rocks, you can pick up and put in your inventory, like vases, brooms, other farming instruments and stuff like that, as well as berries, fruits, etc., herbs. And now here's a little taste of what I was talking about earlier about the difficulty, about how the environment can be definitely challenging. Yeah, I was being a bit ignorant right there. If I was paying a bit more attention, I could have actually seen the goblin there approaching me from my rear, but then yeah, got pushed off by a goblin. Weakest, well, one of the weakest aggressive enemies in the game. Actually, that is the weakest aggressive enemy in the game, I believe. So after you activate the rift stone, you can teleport to this area, which is the rift. And here in the rift, you can release your current pawns, or you could hire new pawns. And of course, you have a maximum of 3 pawns that are following you. And of course, one of them will always be your main pawn. So you have 2 other pawns that you can hire. Now, they do have quite a few ways to search out pawns, filter them. You can even filter them by their specific skills. And they do actually have a top ranked pawns, which is really interesting. So, and by the way, when people use your pawns, that does allow you to earn rift crystals, which rift crystals are used to hire new pawns that are a higher level than you. So they are very vital. Although you could actually manage with only hiring pawns that are your level. Although it would get annoying because every like few levels to maybe no more than 5 levels, you'd probably want to release your pawn, then hire a new pawn that's your level. So it's definitely helpful to have rift crystals. Very, very handy. But yeah. So when you hire a pawn and then you release them, you have the option to send a gift, which you apparently cannot send any equipment. It would seem that you can only send consumables, or you can send materials, which are actually in the game called curatives and materials. So yeah, you can walk up to each of these pawns here. You can see who the owner of them is. You can see the given name of each pawn, and of course you can see the owner's PSN ID. So here I thought I'd go hire that guy, as I liked his name, Fox, and I needed a fighter to sort of balance my party out. I already had Rook, which was the given NPC pawn. Then I had my main pawn, so that makes 3 pawns, and now we are good. I was good to go set out. Now here, this is the top ranked board, top ranked pawns I mean, and well, yeah. Now, considering the fact that you can actually hire 2 pawns in addition to your primary pawn is really smart in my opinion. So this means that you'll be hiring, most likely, you'll be hiring 2 people's pawns And well, there's a good chance that your pawn's gonna get hired as well, assuming you get lucky and people randomly encounter your pawn and take a liking to them. So it really is surprising to see how many people have hired my pawn. I think well over 12 people have hired my pawn now, and I've been playing the game since Tuesday, so that's about 4 or 5 days, yeah, been playing the game. Now this right here, special pawns, I'm not certain what they're planning to do with it, but if I had to guess, I'd guess that they're planning to do some like NPC pawns with that. I'd imagine that they're probably gonna try and make people pay real money to hire pawns, which is pretty ridiculous because I found some insanely good pawns to hire. But then again, I do have like 36,000 rift crystals, and I can invest quite the amount of money in hiring a very powerful pawn that's a higher level than I am. Oh, and by the way, in game, if your pawns ever die, well, all you have to do is go over and revive them, which involves standing near them and pressing circle, which is very, very simple. So it's really no big deal if they die. But if you die, then, well, you have to restart from your last checkpoint or your last save. In the game, it does autosave. Occasionally, I did find my pawns accidentally slipping off a cliff or getting themselves killed one way or another. And, well, this is really kind of sucks, especially when it's like your pawn that you invested a decent amount of rift crystals in. And, well, it's one way to lose a pawn for good sometimes. Oh, and by the way, if most of the deep water in this game, if you enter it, then you die, so that's another way to get your pawns instantly killed without returning. Oh, and by the way, another thing, if your main pawn dies, then you can actually revive him or her just by visiting the rift stone and activating it. It's very simple. But anyways, here's another little taste of the random exploration. And by the way, this is not actually nighttime in the game. It's just barely getting dark. Yeah, nighttime is like pitch black and you really need a lantern. Another disappointing thing of Dragon's Dogma is their crime and punishment system. Now, there's no reason to actually commit any crime. As far as I'm aware, you cannot steal from anyone, but you can just go up and like take items on people's houses for whatever odd reason. I guess it's considered collecting items just like you do in nature outdoors in the game. But yeah, it's really no punishment for that. But let's say that you attack someone or you pick someone up and you throw them. Then, well, that's considered a crime in the game. So then, sort of like in the Elder Scrolls, a guard will just approach you randomly out of nowhere and take you to jail. Except here in Dragon's Dogma, you don't say anything, he just simply takes you to jail after you commit a crime. So now that you're in jail, well, you have the choice of sneaking out of there, which there's no actual sneaking system in the game. So you just sort of walk out of there, check around the corners with the third person camera, see if any guard's watching you, and well, yeah, that's sneaking for you. And otherwise, if a guard spots you, it would seem to me that you have to bribe him for 5,000 gold to get out of there. Which at the point where I am at in the game, 5,000 gold is absolutely nothing. I have like, I think I had 450,000 gold, somewhere around there. But then I spent a lot, and now I have about 250,000. But anyways, yeah, 5,000 as like is absolutely nothing. It's really not significant. It's very little purpose. It's just there. The crime system is just there to be there, and it's not much to it. But yeah, it's fine, I guess. Now here in this clip, I actually successfully sneak out of jail, and well, this is the closest thing that they have to a stealth system in the game. As you can see, I'm just walking around like normal, and well, really I'm avoiding making eye contact with the guard, I suppose you could say. So he walks past me, and I sort of just follow him because there's only one way out, and I simply walk right past him. Yeah, it really makes no sense, but that's how it is. And at the very end of this video, I'll actually show you guys the skeleton key, which is what I use to get out, and you can buy that in the city. So that's everything for this video. I think I'll actually make a part 2 for this video. Alright guys, thanks for watching. Goodbye.